All right, what's going on, everybody? So this video, what we're going to cover is we're going to go into early extension. Why does it happen? What are the ways that we can work on it to be able to get better at it? And what are some of the things that we need to do and implement to start changing what is causing our early extension? We're going to do a full-on video series of this. So today we're going to start with what causes early extension. So the number one thing that I will say that I see as a teacher for why people actually early extend, it is due all in part to how we actually set up. So if I go into this, like this is probably the most regular thing that I see, one inside of online lessons and two inside of in-person lessons. So most of us, the way that we were taught to set up is we were taught to hinge from our pelvis like this and go into what we would call good posture. So when I do this right here, if I draw a line directly down the back of my armpits here, that is going far, far, far over my toes right here. So in order for me to stay in this posture, I can turn the club back to about right here. If I continue to turn, I either start to collapse forward or B, I have to start standing up. And that is due in part to balance. So what we're actually doing right there is we are taking the lumbar area of our spine and we are hinging. So when we hinge from this area, this now becomes an anchor point that is now supporting the mass of my lower back, my core, my chest, my upper back, my shoulders, arms, golf club, neck, and head. So this is now what I would refer to as being top heavy. So if I'm top heavy, what this is going to make me want to do is if I'm top heavy right here, for me to get back into balance, I'm going to have to stand up, which is actually what we're talking about right here. That would be early extension there. Okay? So if I get top heavy here, either A, I'm going to turn, I'm going to stand up out of posture and early extend, or B, I'm going to try and stay in posture, and as I start to create speed, I'm going to stand up. And here's one of the reasons why. So what we have right here, we as people, we are extremely balanced standing straight up and down. So this right here, I could stand in this position right here for days, for hours, etc. Like this is a very comfortable position. And the reason why we can is we have what we would call median line. So this would be the seam line on our pants, the seam line on our shirt. We have this in line right here. The further that we get the pelvis and the shoulders away from median line, remember this started right here, so now my shoulders over here, which are top heavy, the further I get those away from median line, well, when I get into here and I start to try and create speed, this is going to want to work back the direction of where your median line is. So for me, what I prefer to see out of almost every player in regards to a setup is I want you to start a heck of a lot closer to median line. So if I went into setup right here, this would be my order, why I want to see it, and how we can start to use this to get better at not early extending and being able to stay in our posture. So right here, this would be my pelvis fully tucked. This would be a posterior pelvic tilt right here where my belt line is neutral. So if I went here, I flexed my knees over the balls of my feet. I have pressure in the balls of my feet because that is where I can create stability. And I go from here and I bring this golf club right to the bottom of my rib cage and I start to bend from here. What I'm actually doing, one, I'm keeping my shoulders and my pelvis closer to where my median line is, but number two, what I'm doing is I'm counterbalancing the spine. So this is huge right here. The spine has three different segments to it. We have the pelvis, we have the rib cage area, and we have the shoulder area. Okay, so this would be lower, mid, upper for an easy reference. So when we look at this right here, if I take an alignment stick, we're going to use this as a representation for what the spine is. If this is my neck and this is my tailbone, so let's say I'm able to stay in my posture to the top, and I start to move my pelvis rotationally, which moves backwards. This would be from here, and I start to rotate. What is going to happen is if I'm in this type of a spine inclination and I'm hinging too much from the pelvis, and I start to move backwards, because my spine is locked and it is fixated, this whole unit is going to move together. Just like right in here, I turn, I start to turn, you can clearly see how my head is going backwards. So either A, I'm gonna have to time throwing my arms out like this, or B, I'm gonna start early extending so that I can get something moving back towards the golf ball, because the brain is going to make us wanna hit the golf ball. So if now we look at this again, so this is our spine, this is our neck, and this is our tailbone. If we create balance inside of these three different segments, pelvis, rib cage, shoulders, and we bend from here, this would be putting the spine into flexion right here. So when I start to turn the lower half, which is where my left hand is here, I have the ability to create space and move into good posture without my head backing up. So from here, if I show you the setup again, this is one of the very first places that I would challenge every one of you that are struggling with early extension, how to actually work on this. So if I got into this setup right here, so I flex the knees, pressure's on the balls of my feet, this is underneath my rib cage, and I start to bend from my mid-spine here, and my arms hang naturally. What you'll see now is my head's here, I can start to turn, create space, and you'll notice my spine here now is moving into good posture. I have the ability to counterbalance my shoulders and my pelvis when I'm creating the most amount of speed. Instead of working my shoulders and my pelvis away from median line at setup and working it closer to median line at impact, which creates our stand-up, creates our early release, whatever it might cause as a swing flaw right there. We're just gonna call it early extension. This gives me the ability, one, to stay in more balance up to the top, and two, now I can start to counterbalance my lead side pelvic rotation with my trail shoulder working down, which is now putting me into a pretty good posture right here. That's what allows me to work this direction right here. So the setup piece is by far and large one of the most important things, and where I would say just about every single person should start is make sure that you are setting yourself up in balance and you understand how you're supposed to position the spine so that we don't early extend as much. Now, here's a cool drill that I'm going to add on to this that you guys have the ability to do. So what I'm going to use right here, I'm going to set a golf ball up right in here. Now what I have here is I've got this iRange Mini, and we're making this product right here to where you can actually connect this antenna to it. And where I'm going to place this is I'm going to place this on the ground where this is relatively close to where my belt line would sit, or if I go into early extension, I would run into this. So the first thing that I would start with is, again, I'm going to get into my setup. So I'm on the balls of my feet, my pelvis is tucked right here. I'm going to flex the knees, bend from my mid-spine. And please take note of this point right here. I'm not just asking you to round your shoulders to get down to it like this. This is what I've seen out of far too many people. You can see my back line is straight up in the air. That's not what I'm looking for you to do. I'm looking for you from here to bend from the middle part of your spine with knee flex, weight on the balls of the feet so that your arms can hang naturally, and if you need to, relax the muscle group around your lumbar spine, and you could move the pelvis into a tiny bit of anterior tilt if we go into the details of it. So once we get into setup, the first place that I'm going to have you is I want you to go to impact, and we're not going to allow this trail leg and trail hip to move forward. So the first thing is actually feeling, what does it feel like to actually get down here? So I'm going to come down in here. So what I did is I went here, I have pressure forward, the lead side works back and around. That allows me to side bend, and that's what allows me to get the golf club in here. I can feel how I can keep this right leg, my trail leg, and my hip inside of that. So when you go into this, firstly, hold this position for anywhere from 5, 10, 15 seconds. Please do yourself a favor, bring awareness to what you're trying to change. Don't just go right into hitting golf balls. I promise you that's really not going to change much. Give yourself the ability to learn how to move right, feel what it is that's changing, because you're going to feel a lot more side bend here, because now you're counterbalancing the mass of the shoulders and the pelvis to get down into this position right here, and you're keeping your trail hip way further back than what you're used to doing. So we're going to go set up, feel impact, work this back, feel impact, and even start from here. And that might be the very first place that we want to hit a golf ball from. Once you've done that a few times, then we can start moving this more into a slower motion. But this right here, this is going to give you the ability to have feedback, because if we go in here and we swing it back, because setup is going to give you the ability to counterbalance, we still need to change some of the neurological patterns that are causing you to want to stand up and move into this right here. This is going to give you the ability to start rewiring that. So we would go in here, there's impact, swing it back, bring this down directly behind the ball, feel that again. Then I can come out of this and I can go hit. And there would be what my feel is. And you can see the speed that I'm starting off at is relatively slow. I'm not going to go at Mach 10 because I'm probably going to do the same stuff that I used to do. So this right here gives us the ability, plus it gives us a feedback station, if we're videoing as well, to be able to know whether we're making the change the right way. Don't waste time. Make sure what you're doing is what you want it to do. Don't just think and hope that it's happening. Video yourself. Stand in front of the mirror. Do movement patterns that are going to bring awareness to the change that you are trying to make. That is how we get better at stuff in the game of golf. So, one more time here. I'm set up. You can see this is very close to where my belt line would be, to where if my hip comes forward, I would run into that. I'm going to go into my setup. I'm going to feel impact, swing it back, come back down to impact. There's my feel. Then I'm going to set up, and I'm going to go. And that would be exactly what I want all of my shots to feel like. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please click that like button if you did. You can also click that subscribe button for future videos that I will be posting here on YouTube. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those below. In the link at the bottom as well, I have a free crash course on impact that you can watch. Please click that link, sign up. Thank you again for watching, and if you guys need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.